All right, welcome in, learner. It's time for another deep dive. And this one you really pushed for. LeBron James, full interview on the Pat McAfee show, right? Huge, wide-ranging, unfiltered, the whole thing.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's a long one, tons to unpack. So we're going to do our best here to pull out the most interesting bits, the stuff that really gives you insight into LeBron's longevity, his mindset, how he views the game, the media, even fatherhood, with Bronny coming up. It's all in there.
It's all in there. And there are some real surprises, some things I bet even hardcore fans might not know. So we'll try to hit those aha moments, the things that make you go, wait, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the obvious, right? The guy's pushing 40, 22 seasons in the NBA, and he's still playing at a ridiculously high level. How is that even possible?
Well, LeBron himself talks about it being a two-part thing. Taking care of your body, that's no secret, right? But he really stresses mental clarity, keeping your mind sharp after all these years. Says it's crucial for staying at the top.
Right, like he's seen it all, knows what to expect, but there's got to be more than just experience. You got to have that drive, that love for the game, the constant pushing to get better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And he talks about this moment when he was like 13, 14 years old, when he realized how good he was. But it's not the fame that hits him. It's this thought that, okay, now I can help my family get us out of Section 8 housing. Like, that responsibility, that purpose, it's been there from the beginning.
And it really shows, even now, how important his inner circle is to him. Mentioning Rich Paul by name, It's loyalty, that sense of looking after the people he came up with.
For sure. And it makes you think, like, all these wins, all the records, it's huge. But underneath, it's personal. It's about his history, his people, his roots. It's not just about basketball.
Okay, now imagine this. You're basically famous since you're a kid. That's LeBron's life. And the expectations, the pressure, from day one, it's insane. He gets drafted, and right away, people are comparing him to Kareem, Magic, Bird, Jordan, the all-time greats.
And he actually says straight up that it was super fucking scary and intimidating. Like, he's 17 on national TV, and suddenly everyone's putting him next to these legends. That's a lot to handle, right?
Yeah, but you never really saw that on the surface. He always seemed so composed, in control. How did he do that?
He credits his mom, his upbringing, but also this kind of like internal steel, this determination not to mess up. He knew how rare his opportunity was, especially coming from Akron, an inner city kid, not a lot of success stories to look up to. He actually tells this story about Jerome Lane, local guy, makes it to the NBA, then comes back and like trashes LeBron's high school team. It's like that lit a fire under him, made him even hungrier to prove himself.
So he had this weight on his shoulders, not just for himself, but for like his whole city, his community.
Exactly. Like he understood the moment and he wasn't going to let it slip away.
Okay, so let's talk about the decision. That was a turning point, no question. It changed how people saw him. How does he look back on that now?
He's very clear that the intent was good. It was supposed to be this cool, different kind of announcement, and they raised a ton of money for charity, like $2.5 million. But the execution? Yeah, it backfired.
Yeah.
Big time.
Oh, yeah. Remember that story he told about landing back in Cleveland after the announcement, walking into his hotel elevator, and there's a group of fans wearing those FUK-LBJ shirts?
Right, like that's the immediate reaction, and he felt that the media, after years of positive coverage, were maybe itching for a negative angle, and his free agency gave them that.
Which brings us to his relationship with the media, right? He's got some strong opinions there, especially about Stephen A. Smith and just this whole, I guess, shift in how players are covered.
Yeah, he's fine with criticism, with people analyzing his game, but he draws the line at personal attacks, stuff that goes beyond basketball.
Yeah.
And he says he feels responsible for protecting not just himself, but other players too.
He even brings up that situation with Joel Embiid, where a reporter asked him some really intrusive questions about his brother's personal life. Like, LeBron felt that was way out of bounds, too comfortable.
And he contrasts it with the old school days, Name drops Charles Oakley, implying that back then there were consequences for disrespecting players like that. Very different dynamic.
Right. But he also mentions Tyrese Halliburton, who said that in the NBA, LeBron's still the man. Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
So, like, the respect from his peers is definitely there, even with all the noise outside.
No doubt. Okay, so Miami. He goes to Miami, and it's not just about leaving Cleveland. It's about this hunger for championships, this idea that individual accolades aren't enough.
Yeah, he talks about this winning mentality that he's always had, even in Little League. Like, it's in his DNA.
Yeah.
And he felt like he'd hit a ceiling in Cleveland, needed a new environment to reach that next level.
And Miami was the perfect fit, right? He had conversations with D-Wade, Bosh, Udonis Haslem, all on board. And he even gives a shout out to Rajon Rondo, says his impact on that Boston Celtics team was huge. Really smart player.
Interesting. And then the mood itself, leaving Akron for Miami at 25, he describes it as terrifying, like his college moment because he went straight to the NBA. Adds a whole other layer to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely humanizes him a bit. And then, of course, there's that classic Pat Riley story with the chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, yeah, the cookies. What a perfect illustration of Riley's style,
Yeah.
right? No nonsense, all business. The team Klein staff is baking cookies specifically for LeBron, and Riley shuts it down immediately. Just like that.
And later, when D-Wade leaves Miami because of a contract dispute, LeBron jokes about the cookie situation, like, see what happens when you don't get paid. It's funny, but it also says a lot about the team dynamics, the money, the whole thing.
So after Miami, he goes back to Cleveland, wins a championship there, which he describes the parade as bananas, by the way, then ends up in L.A. with the Lakers. And he had some interesting thoughts about J.J. Redick, who was coaching there at the time.
Yeah, he's really complimentary towards Redick, calls him a great podcaster who bleeds and breathes the game, sees that same dedication in him, that passion, even compares him to Coach K, legendary Duke coach, both of them with that kind of demanding dickhead quality, as he puts it.
Okay, now let's talk about Luka Doncic. That pairing, when it had, a lot of people were skeptical. Two ball-dominant guys, can it work?
Well, LeBron, he just shuts that down, calls Luka Magic, talks about how talented he is, and he tells this story about when Luka got traded to Dallas, LeBron DM'd him right away, said, "You don't change a damn thing, we'll change for you." Like, just that message, that reassurance, it's huge for a young player.
And they've clearly clicked, despite what the doubters said. LeBron calls those people idiots that don't know the game, basically saying they just don't understand the nuances of basketball.
Which is LeBron's whole thing, right? High basketball IQ, adapting his game. He saw the potential in that pairing where others didn't.
Okay, let's get into the nostalgia combo, as he calls it. All these comparisons between different eras, who would dominate when, the endless debates.
He has this great analogy comparing a Hummer from the 70s to a modern one. Sure, the old one might have nostalgia value, but the new one's just better, more advanced. And he says you gotta respect every era, but it's impossible to say definitively who would dominate where. Like, imagine Wilt Chamberlain in the 70s, or Giannis now, or even Kyrie's handles in a different defensive era. It's all hypothetical.
And he addresses those comments from Bill Laimbeer, Dennis Rodman, who said he wouldn't have been as successful in their era.
Yeah, he kind of brushes it off like they're not seeing the full picture, like the game evolves, his skills would have translated. It's a different argument.
Now let's talk about the flopping thing. That's been a criticism for a long time.
He's pretty blunt about it. Says he's actually in the bottom half of the league in free throw attempts per game. If he was flopping all the time, wouldn't he be getting more calls? He even tells stories about teammates who are surprised by how few fouls he gets now compared to when they played against him before.
Right, it's a perception thing.
Yeah.
He even jokes about practicing his flops, but the point is, the stats don't back it up. He even mentions that moment in The Last Dance where a ref apologizes to Jordan for a missed call, like maybe there was a different standard back then.
Interesting point.
All right, so Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, two huge figures in his life and basketball history.
He says he and Jordan are in a good spot, but they don't really talk much while LeBron's still playing. Thinks they'll be closer after he retires. And then with Kobe, it started as a rivalry, East versus West, but they became really close after Kobe retired. He tells this really touching story about Kobe sending him a supportive message when LeBron passed him on the all-time scoring list.
And his number, 23, that was inspired by Jordan, right?
Right.
Along with other influences from his Akron days.
Yeah, he mentions Will Smith, Jay-Z, Biggie, Tupac, like this whole cultural landscape that shaped him.
Okay, now, playing with Bronny, that's got to be a whole other level of surreal.
He says he wasn't even there mentally during that game, like floating, a pure dad moment. And he brings up Bronny's cardiac arrest less than a year before that game. Just incredible to think about.
Yeah, the emotion there is palpable. And he's so proud of Bronny's development, his draft stock, his recent game in the G League scoring 39 points. Says Bronny uses all the noise as fuel. That's the mentality.
And he mentions Bryce, too, his younger son, who might also go pro. Like, that's wild to think about.
So the retirement question, it's coming up more and more. Does he have a timeline?
His answer is really interesting. It's not about age or ability. It's about desire. When he loses that drive, that passion for the process, for the prep, the training, the scouting, that's when he'll know it's time.
And he's still all in, right? Talks about arriving at the arena 5 hours before a 7:30 game. That's commitment.
Yeah.
He even tells this funny story about getting criticized for eating fruit during a preseason game.
Like they're watching his every move.
So, the face of the league conversation. Who's next? It's a big topic.
He mentions Jason Tatum, but says he never actively tried to be the face. He felt a responsibility to carry the league in a certain way, be a role model, especially after Jordan retired, and there was this, disconnect between players and fans.
Right. And he pushes back on some of those old narratives, like Brian Windhorst's claims about his motivations for wearing 23 and signing with Nike. He's like, no, it was about the money, and I wanted to wear Nike gear. Straight up.
No sugarcoating. And he even talks about those moments where, Cleveland keeps getting the #1 pick, compares it to Ewing going to the Knicks, Rose to the Bulls. There's a bigger story there, maybe some scripting going on.
Okay, current state of the NBA. What's his take?
He says the second half of the season's been good. The momentum is building. Compares it to the NFL, where you have that week-to-week anticipation, whereas the NBA is more constant. He also had some thoughts on college basketball.
Oh, yeah, he has some opinions there.
Not a fan of all the charges, thinks the 35-second shot clock is hurting the flow. Likes the gather step rule, though, but really dislikes the two halves, thinks it makes the game too long, too much impact from early fouls.
And looking ahead, he sees the league going towards these tall, versatile guys. You mentioned Wembanyama, KD, Chet Holmgren, that kind of player. Says Dirk and KD were the prototypes. Even tells a funny story about Derek Queen, young prospect, just tons of confidence. Okay, so beyond basketball, he's got a lot going on. Spring Hill, the podcasts, all these ventures. How does he juggle it all?
He credits Maverick Carter, his business partner, for being a huge help. They focus on long-term stuff, not just quick endorsements. And the Mind the Game podcast, that came from wanting to have deeper conversations about basketball going beyond the surface level.
Yeah, he's got season 2 coming up with Steve Nash. Really excited about that.
Yep.
Wants to teach people how to see the game properly, current and future generations.
It's education, right. And he's got other stuff, too. Taco Tuesday, The Shop, the Thursday Night Football watch-alongs. He's busy.
All right, got to ask about the sideways blink at the Olympics.
no.
That went viral.
He laughs about it, calls it his thriller moment, doesn't really have an explanation, but admits it was weird. He also talked about the Lakers season, the importance of staying healthy, how LeBron, Luka, and AR-15 need to click, trust the coaching staff.
And then music, future predictions, even his own statue one day.
Says he has a hard time predicting the next big music star, relies on his kids for that. He's been listening to a lot of Eric B. and Rakim lately. And the statue thing, he wants to approve it privately before it's unveiled, mentions the Dwayne Wade statue in Miami, not wanting that to happen to him.
All right, learner, there you have it. LeBron James, unfiltered, in his own words. So much to unpack, so many layers. What stood out to you? What do you want to explore further? Maybe go back and listen to the whole interview again. With this new perspective, you might pick up on even more. That's the beauty of a deep dive like this.
For sure.
Until next time, keep learning, keep diving deeper. We'll be here waiting.
Absolutely.
Take care.